Hey guys, I wanted to make a video about racism and dating in Latin America because I was talking to a few of my friends about this and a few females about this as well. And this is something that I've noticed. And this is not a particular country, so it doesn't necessarily mean the DR or Mexico or whatever, but I've seen this in different places that I've traveled, or friends or female friends of mine particularly have told me about. So some of these I've experienced myself, others my friends have told me about, their experiences as well. This is what I'm seeing, with my eyes, and some stuff that I've heard with my ears as well. So in Latin America particularly, I mean, you get this in other places too, like South Korea, certain Asian countries as well, other Asian countries as well, is the preference for white men and the perception that white men are better inherently. And this is not, anything against any of my white viewers or anything like that. You guys are pretty lucky because you guys kind of have that several hundred years of built up social credit, I would say, where you guys can get away with a lot of stuff that other groups of people, and not necessarily just black men, but like even some of the local guys can't really get away with. And I've talked to some of the local guys about this as well. Like even lighter skinned, like Colombians and Dominican guys have told me this as well. And where there's been a perception that white is right and that, white men are better. And like I said, this ain't knocking any of my white viewers. And shout out to you guys, because some of you guys, all you guys got to do is show up. Like this one white guy told me, basically, if you can't get a date in Latin America and be a white male, like, you are seriously the problem. Like, you really need to get yourself checked out, because some places women will just be with you just for being white. It has nothing to do with money. It's just like the family like pressures them to get with a white man, and I'll explain that. So in Latin America, there's different terms. There's mejorar la raza, blanqueamiento, which is like whitening, refinar la familia, which is to refine the family, meaning that, my family becomes more refined the whiter it gets. And I've heard a lot of these terms, and it's nuts. Queremos que los niños salen blanco, bonito, refinado, stuff like that. Like where they'll say different things like that. And this is not like everybody, but there are some small pockets in these countries that think like this. And I'll go into a few examples. So a friend of mine, one of her friends who became a working girl, she didn't start out that way, but there was this girl who, she was married to a white guy, and she was married to this white guy because her family really pressured her. You got to get with a white man. You have to, better our family. You have to better the race. And like, they really put a lot of pressure on her, and this guy was not good for her. But they didn't care about that. They cared about skin color. Like, they really pressured this into her head. And he used to beat this girl so bad. White guy from Europe. And that's another thing. Like, typically white guys from the United States really don't treat their women that bad, from what I've seen overseas. Like, the white guys from the US are pretty chill. It's just a lot of the guys from Europe that are a little bit more misogynistic and very aggressive and try to abuse the women. And by abuse, I mean like literal abuse. Not that, I'm not trying to be some guys go, oh, you being a simp, this and that. I'm talking about guys that murder these girls and kick their face in for no reason and do all types of things, like urinate on them and all this. That's what I mean by abuse. So I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm giving these girls the benefit of the doubt. Like, no, some of these guys are really, whooping some ass. And I actually lived next to a white guy that used to do that. We used to call him Willie Whoop Ass. We had to call the police on him because he was going to kill this girl. Back to the story. So basically, this girl, she was married to a white guy, had a baby with her. And that's a lot of things that a lot of European guys will do. Like American guys, whether they're black, white, whatever, usually they'll take care of the kids if they have them abroad. But the European guys, you see a lot of guys from different countries in Europe, primarily like Switzerland and Germany, where they'll have a baby in the DR or Colombia, and they will leave that child, and they'll know they'll have a kid. Like, they'll just leave a child. They won't, because to them, that person that they had a child with is beneath them, and the child itself, like, they don't even view that child as like their own child, which is kind of weird. And it's not every German guy, every Swiss guy or whatever, but you do see it a lot where they, you see these little, we call them gringo babies in the little barrios, where a white guy just comes, drops off, his seed, and then, he really doesn't care about that child. So this guy used to really beat this girl, did all types of stuff. One day he kicked her out, burned her clothes and stuff like that, because he really wanted to treat the girl like a slave. And the girl was sleeping in the park with her baby and stuff like that, and my friend Jamie decided to take the girl in. But she was afraid to tell her family, because her family really wanted her to be with a white man. Like, she had to be with a white man. Like, they really pressured her into, you got to be with a white man. Like, they had pressured her for years. Like, you got to get with a white man, this and that. So, to feed herself and her kid, she starts working the streets and stuff like that and finding clients. She eventually gets with a black guy, and the black guy is really, taking care of her, to the point where he's trying to get her back on track, because she had already graduated high school, trying to get her in college, put her in a nice apartment, making sure, her and her son have health care. I mean, just complete 180. And she never took the black guy to her family's place, because they lived in another town. And the guy kept asking, and like, it started straining the relationship, but she was just really scared to bring a black guy home. And Jamie, she got very upset with her one day. And, she told her about the girl about herself. She was like, I remember when I found you in the park, and you and your kid didn't have anything to eat, and I took care of you, and you finally found a good man, and you won't even, you should tell your family to go fuck themselves, basically, because the white guy that you were with was really kicking your ass and almost killed you, and you wouldn't even press charges against the guy because he was white, that your family wanted you to be with a white guy, and this and that. You won't even tell your family that, you've broken up with the guy. But the black guy, basically saved your life. And Jamie, she was very emotional about this. The reason why is because, she dated a black guy who was really good to her and stuff like that. I mean, really, not a similar situation, but like, he really, changed her life. And she was upset because that man, passed away of a heart attack. So she was emotional, like, the love of her life had died. He was a black man, and now she has a man that's very similar. She sees a lot of similar characteristics, but she won't even, she's not even willing to take it to the next level and forget about what her family's saying about him, that, just because of his skin color. So you do see families that are that extreme. And, I even dated a girl who was kind of like that. Like, I'll be honest, like, this Dominican girl, she left me for a white guy that was 60 years old. And he wasn't like an attractive guy either. Only because her family was like, oh, you need to refinar la familia. And her grandma was very racist. Like, her grandma was darker than me. But, like, this woman wouldn't shake my hand. She would never speak to me. And, I was glad I got out of that situation. Because after she married the guy, she found out that, white man's ice is not colder. And, she was not in a situation that she thought she would be in, because like, her family's like, oh, your life is going to change if you get with a white man and have babies with him, and she had a kid with him and stuff like that. And I told her, like, no, you got exactly what you wanted. You got what your family wanted. Now you have, quote unquote white grandchildren. They say that they're beautiful because they're white. And like your family's black, like your grandparents are black, but like her grandma was racist, like really racist, like to the point where, like, she married a man lighter than her. And I also have a friend, similar situation, but it's a little bit different. Like, she's, my color, and her grandmother on her dad's side, she also married a light-skinned guy and had lighter-skinned children, but her dad, who's light-skinned, married a really dark-skinned woman like his mother, and his mother was just livid. My friend, she talked about how her grandma abused her and treated her nasty since she was ugly black and this and that. And her grandma is her same exact color, like very dark skinned. And like, it comes with a lot of self-hatred. But you see it a lot in various different Latin American countries. Like, I have a friend here in the States, she's Colombian, and she talked about her grandma didn't even want her to be with other Colombian guys. Like, her grandma told her to mejorar la raza. You know, that she has to be with a white man, preferably blonde hair, blue eyes, better the race. We need to have beautiful grandkids because black is ugly and this, and this. So you do see that in the DR. You do see that in Colombia. You do see that in definitely Argentina. But you see it all over. But that's not how everybody behaves. There's a lot of people that aren't ignorant. But it's something that is very... You see it in pockets. So you will notice it. And I'm going to make a part 2 to this video. But there's definitely a lot of that mejorar la raza in, you know, all of Latin America. So this is part 1 of the video. Part 2, I'm going to, a little bit shorter, but I'm going to give some examples. Anyway, thanks guys.